Hey guys, welcome back to the Creative Tribe podcast. This is a podcast about all the things that fuel a creative lifestyle. I'm Brian,
And I'm Rita.
and together we are Label Me Other. Label Me Other is our production company, and one of our goals is to create creative problem solvers. If this sounds like something you're interested in, then go and head over to our TikTok, search for Label Me Other, and join our creative tribe. We post over there daily. And if you like the podcast, wherever you're listening, please, give us a like and a follow. And if
Yeah,
you have any questions in the realm of content creation and starting a creative lifestyle, email us at labelmeother@gmail.com. And we put up new episodes of this podcast every Tuesday. So today, we really don't have a vent session, but we both this year went to the NABShow. That's the
yeah,
National Association of Broadcasters Conference. It's a whole bunch of conferences in one about everything from content creation. If you're into radio, if you're into film, if you're into anything along those lines, this was the place to be this year. And this was they were celebrating 100 years this
yeah,
year. So it was a very special show. And so we're just going to talk about the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly.
for sure. Yeah. I think for me, it was my first time. I know you've been before, Brian, and
Mm.
I was just very much so overwhelmed when you get into like the exhibitor hall to see all the exhibits and the vendors. I mean, I can't, well, if you guys have been to the Las Vegas Convention Center, you know how humongous it is in there, but it's just crazy to see like booth after booth after booth of people with like all the things that like make my heart flutter, cameras and lenses and tripods and like anything you can think about in the production space. Like they were there. Like you just knew people from like big movie sets, were utilizing stuff that was there. So I don't know, it just made me super excited to see all of that. It was very overwhelming, lots of people, so it was intimidating for me. At one point, and Brian gave me some excellent advice while I was there. He's like, "Hey, just get in there. You belong there. Like, get in there and start touching stuff. Start, messing around with things." So
Yeah.
that really gave me a little bit of confidence to be like, you know what, I do belong here. Let me touch some stuff. Let me try to break something. So I don't know. It was exciting for me.
Yeah, yeah. This is my second time going, but no, yeah. So that overwhelming feeling is still there. It's like you just don't know where to start
Yeah,
especially with the exhibition hall, and with some of the sessions that you could go to. It's just kind of overwhelming. You kind of just don't know, like I said, where to start. You just kind of just jump in, just kind
yeah,
of be in the moment and jump in and just see where the day takes you.
for
But yeah,
sure.
it's I recommend it for really anybody who's in content creation or radio or television, any of that stuff. You have to make the pilgrimage to NAB.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say that I don't know if it's unheard of, but they were doing something a little bit peculiar as they were offering like the free exhibit pass, or offering the exhibit pass for free this year. So like you
Yeah,
literally could save yourself $135 or something like that and just
yeah.
go and see everything. So
Because that's definitely worth it.
yeah.
Just even if you're not going to the educational sessions to like learn to the presentations and things like that. Just to be, because there was like what, 3 or 4 exhibition halls that were
Yeah.
filled with just vendors, like top big name vendors like Sony, Black Magic, who else was there?
Canon,
Canon,
Panasonic.
Adobe, yeah, like all of those vendors, and they're all showing the latest and greatest of what they have.
Yeah.
If you could just get the flight there, get a hotel room, that's worth it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to do that.
Yeah.
I don't remember if they did that whenever I went, because I went, several years ago whenever I went, so I'm not sure if they were giving it away free, but this year they gave it away for free. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It was pretty cool. Now, I will say for like we also got to do a few of the post-production world classes as Brian was mentioning, and for me those were like really hit and miss. There were some really great ones, and then there were some that, not to sound pompous, but it almost seemed like I could be teaching this class myself because the information was maybe just so base level where I wanted something maybe a little more robust, or I wanted them to go into greater detail because we've been doing certain things for a long time.
Mhm.
And so I really wanted to get like an expert opinion on certain things like webinars or, hosting teleconferences. So I was a little disappointed in some aspects, but about midway through, I just realized I need to just push myself and go into the areas that I'm very uncomfortable, like After Effects, and using Photoshop with After Effects. So once I started taking those classes, I found the value really came in for me because obviously I'm not as well versed. So everything was new and exciting, and it just made me feel like, okay, I'm in the right place for me to learn something here. So just something to take in.
I felt that a lot of the titles of the presentations led you to believe that the conversations were going to be a little bit deeper, but they ended up being very, very surface.
Yeah,
Um, so like I didn't really experience that my first time going. I felt like, and maybe that was just my skill level at that point in time that I got a lot from those presentations.
yeah,
This year, like you said, it was kind of hit or miss. I got some from a little bit, especially the ones talking about how to deal with clients, how to make a pitch deck and how to make your pitch deck effective and how you use that pitch deck as this living document that your clients and that your crew, everybody can continue to refer to,
hmm,
and things like that. But one thing we need to mention also is that at NAB, it's more than one conference going on. It's like
yeah,
this. It's like NAB is like a collection of several conferences. Like we went to the post production world. There's one for leadership. There's one for people in radio. There's one for people who are really focused on television.
yeah,
Uh, the cinematographers.
yeah.
They had a conference there. And then also it was one just for it was kind of loosely based, but it was one just for content creators that was
Hmm.
just there. So it's like
Something for everybody.
yeah, it's something for everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. And even more so, even though Brian and I were both in the post-production world, they have like, let's say, 3 or 4 sessions that are occurring at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And so it's like you really have to pick and choose, like which one are you going to go here, which one are you going to go talk here speak. And so majority of the ones Brian and I actually split up. So he went to one, I went to one, and we could kind of go back to each other later and say it was a pump it or dump it, it was a great one or not. But that was a hard thing for me too, because he's like, you just want to be at all of them, and it's like, no, you have to choose which one
You
are you going to
gotta
do.
you gotta make that choice. You gotta make that choice. But no,
Yeah, which
I had a great time this year. Um Probably wouldn't stay in the hotel that we stayed in. Next time, try to have to, get something a
yeah,
little bit better, but for
yeah,
the distance from the hotel to the convention center, I feel like, that kind of overshadowed some of the other, you know,
yeah,
aspects of the hotel that we stayed in.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I can see that.
So for our main topic, we're going to talk about the power of silence. Like
Mhm.
those moments when, you want to speak up and say something, you want to interject, like you may be in a meeting and someone is just going off the rails, going rogue, totally just hijacking the meeting. We're going to talk about, when to stay silent and when to speak up in these creative spaces.
Yeah,
So just a backstory. Me and Rita, we were in a meeting, and Rita was charged with leading that meeting, with the client, and we had one of our team members just hijack the meeting, just go rogue, just like started talking about our services, which is fine, but she really didn't have a solid grasp on our services and
yeah,
what we provide, and it was kind of jarring. I wanted to just interject and cut her off, but I didn't. But I knew that would make the situation awkward between me and the teammate,
sure.
and with the client, just to see that. So I had to gather myself and just be like, "Well, just let her talk." and try to clean up things if possible and clarify things if possible whenever this person stopped talking. But she just kept on talking. She kept talking and talking and talking. So, Rita, while I have you here, so what were your thoughts of that situation?
You know, I think to a point, which may not be the best thing, I am desensitized because I am so used to this particular person, being the talker. I mean, she's known for being the talker, so it is
Mhm,
not anything that's not known all around the whole institute. So to a degree, I think I'm a little desensitized to it, but to another, point, I think, it. Okay, let me be really objective here. I
mhm,
think maybe some things could have been better here in our organization. We have a real issue with thrusting people in meetings where they don't even know what's going on.
mhm,
And I was privy to some information prior to this meeting. And while I was supposed to be leading it so that people could kind of get a grasp of it, and that kind of got taken away, it makes me think more so like before we have these client meetings, we need to have a interpersonal team meeting where it's like, look, this is what I know. You can ask me any questions before we get in there and you just go off the rails.
mhm.
Because to be fair, maybe she like came in and she just didn't know anything. And so she was really just trying to get a handle on like, okay, what's going on here? So I don't know. I'm a little bit empathetic to that degree, but to your point, like if someone else is intended to be leading it, it's like, okay, let that person steer it. And then when they open it up for questions for everybody who may need a better understanding, then use that as your opportunity to jump on it and, ask
Right.
more questions.
Right, right.
Um,
And I agree. It's like that stuff should be planned out beforehand.
yeah,
I mean, because this was basically like a discoveries meeting. It's like this was our first time meeting with this client. They
yeah,
were telling us what they were wanting, and then so we were that was like kind of the brainstorming session with the client to kind of find out what they want,
yeah,
what we could possibly do, but I feel
yeah,
like our teammate just kind of just took that ball and really ran. And we were
yeah.
talking about we were starting like the hardcore brainstorming of what we could really do
Hmm.
before we could find out what the client was really looking for,
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
really wanted, you know? And so
yeah.
that's where, again, with the power of silence, it's like I'm trying to figure out, should I have stepped in and said something, or was
Mm.
I right in just staying silent in that situation, just letting it play out the way that it did?
Yeah. And I think too, the power of silence is a real crucial tool in the sense of had we all just listened a little bit more to what they were saying, to
Mhm,
what they needed. Granted, they didn't know their direction of how they should get it done, but just hearing them out of like as to what they wanted to see, then probably could have cut a lot of those questions out. Like it could have steered the conversation a different way. So I mean, I think it is. There's a great moment to be really silent in these situations that can really be beneficial to you because you don't want to thrust yourself out there and then not be I guess prematurely where you could have gotten that information from them had you just let them speak. you
yeah,
know
yeah, be an active listener. It's
yeah.
like be an active listener versus listening just to respond, and I feel like our teammate was listening just to respond. I mean, because
Yeah.
I wish we had a recording of that. Well, we probably could play it, but I mean, yeah, it was just one of those things that you could tell that she was ready and eager, which I'm happy for. But she was very very eager to talk about what we could do, what we could possibly provide for this client. But like you said, it's like we have to find out their needs and their deliverables and all that stuff first. Then we could get
Yeah.
into the exciting part about, okay, we're here. This is what we can do.
Yeah.
Here's our plan.
For
Uh,
sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. It brings me to another point. I guess we were in all the meetings this week. We were in another meeting separate and apart from this one where a little bit of I think we were utilizing the power of silence and that you know how do I put this? Sometimes you're in meetings, right? And you know that you are probably one of the experts in this area,
Hmm.
but other people are making decisions without being informed. And
Yes.
so then it's that notion of like, okay, let me see where this is going. Let me do my use my power of listening. And then when it gets crazy where it's starting to involve you and your work is like when you speak up
Hmm.
typically, right? And
Hmm.
so I felt like in this meeting there were several experts, I think, in a way, and people who just aren't informed are making decisions and trying to take things down a path that just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it was funny because you could see when the light bulb went off, I think, in their minds where they were like, this isn't gonna work. Like I could individually see it in people's minds, the bulb going off. And I was like,
Yes.
just let
Yes.
it
Yes.
we just let it go off.
I totally feel it. Like this is a situation where you should speak up. So we were talking about the power of silence.
Yeah.
This particular meeting that Rita's talking about, this is a meeting that probably should have never happened from the beginning
Yeah.
because people were afraid to speak up and say, no, this this option is not going to work for us. So
Yeah.
we end up wasting everybody end up wasting everybody's time, like a whole hour of a situation for like an option that just wasn't going to work, that people knew wasn't going to work from the very beginning, but they didn't
Yeah.
want to speak up and say before this meeting even happened,
Yeah.
no, this isn't going to work for us. We need to look at another option.
Or even ask the questions that need to be asked. Is this a viable option for us? Like if they
Hmm.
would have asked you or I, heck, really anybody on our team, is this a viable option for us to go this route? Then I
Yeah.
feel like we would have shut it down way before multiple meetings have taken place,
I mean, even
with people.
right, even the administrator for this platform knows that this isn't going to work. That
Yeah.
knows that this method, that this option is not the best for this platform.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything. They just let they just let that ball roll and roll down the hill, and it's like, yeah, it's like you should step up and say no because it's
Yeah.
like you're wasting everyone's time.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And let me just say, for those of you listening that may be like, well, why didn't you guys say something so you could prevent being in that meeting? There are times when you are, dealing with a certain caliber of individual or individuals,
Mhm.
and it's clear that they don't want your opinion per se. They want to go the route that they think is best. And sometimes prematurely interjecting yourself into that process, it makes it look like you're just against what they're trying to do or what they're trying to produce or make. And so you have to let it play out. You have to let it like breathe a little bit so
Mhm.
that they can come to that realization on their own, even though you might know it 6 days earlier. They need to come to it on their own and realize, oh, okay, if nothing else, I should have consulted my team first. And then second of all, this wasn't maybe the best idea. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
just again, it's like, you took the power of silence. It's like we were silent on the first end because we know our people. We know, just like you
yeah,
said, that they're not going to believe what we say until they experience it themselves and learn themselves, which is
yeah,
fine.
hmm,
So it means that we're going to bump our heads a lot along the way, but at least, they know they'll learn firsthand that, okay, stuff like this isn't going to work. Maybe I should consult with them before
yeah,
we drag in other people from other groups to try to talk about something.
right, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because there was a moment there, I think, when we finally spoke up, you could just tell, like, at least I could tell, even in their silence, that they were just like, oh, this this could have been killed a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and then the guy who was kind of he wasn't running the meeting, but he turned out to be running the meeting. He There were moments where I felt like he was just like,
What? He was
yeah, like
confused.
there were reasons for having the meeting, one of them being to save money, and he's just like, this is not, I mean, it was clear, it's like, this is not saving you money. How is it saving you money if you have free I won't say what it is, but you have free whatever. So how was that saving you money? Like even that didn't make sense. And the guy was just pegging everything. He
And
wasn't
it
being
just,
rude or mean, but he
yeah,
was saying like, I don't know how that would save you money.
it makes our group seem like, just lack of a better word, it makes us look stupid. It
Yeah,
makes us look
yeah.
very uninformed and like ignorant.
Right, right, right.
Honestly, and it's like, so this could all have been avoided, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
power of silence, knowing when to speak up and when not to speak up. So
Yeah. And let me just say, I struggle with this. I struggle with this deep in this particular job because there are moments where I know that if I were to speak up, it would change the trajectory of what we're doing. But then also knowing on the side that it means I have to spearhead it.
mhm,
It's like you're volunteering yourself. You can't just give up information in the department we're in. You give up information knowing that your idea or your thought process is going to be what spearheads what they do to replace their idea. And so you got to be prepared also to say, okay, do I want to take the lead on this? Do I want to be the person that's going to have to follow up and keep up with all it? It's really not fair. It's unfair that you that's the decision in your mind because ultimately if you're on this team, you want to offer up the best ideas to have the best team.
right.
But there are times in situations where it's like the work is just not weighted evenly. And so
No,
because you're a strong idea person or strong creative, then you get thrusted into these situations. So it's
yeah,
just a lot of things to consider. Ultimately, I would love to be a great employee where I could just offer up all my ideas and be like, yeah, let's do this and think about this and that and just have a nice little bubble, but
right, right.
it don't work like that. If you want to
No,
be bogged down in doing the work of the whole team, then you speak up.
yeah, yeah, and you gotta have you gotta have that idea already vetted, because with our
Yeah.
people, as soon as they hear that idea, then like Rita said, they're ready to roll.
Yeah.
So like you really have to have it vetted and know like, okay, this idea can really work before you say
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And be ready to lead it.
Right,
Be ready
right.
to lead it.
Be ready to lead. All right, so that's all we have for this episode of the Creative Tribe podcast. Thanks for listening. If you like what we're providing here, again, please head over to our TikTok, search for Label Me Other, and join our Creative Tribe. If you like the podcast, be sure to give us a like, a follow on whatever platform that you're listening. And if you have any questions in the realm of content creation and starting a creative lifestyle, please send us an email at labelmeother@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.